Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Drew and you're once again watching Drew the Theme Park Dude, and you are back for a brand new video. And today I'll be talking all about my trip to the most beautiful theme park, in my opinion, on Earth, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Busch Gardens, Williamsburg is located in Williamsburg, Virginia, and is one of the older in the SeaWorld Entertainment parks, I guess. So if you want to call it that. But basically it is one of the several SeaWorld Entertainment owned theme parks across the United States. And it is the only one to happen to be in Virginia, other than Water Country USA, which is this water park, which I was unable to visit, but I plan to visit in the future. So you're probably wondering what makes me say Busch Gardens Williamsburg is the most beautiful theme park on Earth, in my opinion. Well, it's mainly due to the overall theme, with a nice mix of colors, with coasters, trees, nature, not being able to see some of the rides from one part of the other, like of the park, and just kind of having like well-themed rides in well-themed areas. So kind of what I mean by that is, for instance, you have Griffin in the France area of the park. Griffin is on the thumbnail on the right, and it is that massive dive coaster. It was not open when I was at the park, so I sadly was unable to ride, but it is a massive B&M dive coaster, very similar to She-Crup. It has a little extra layout, including an extra Emmelman inversion, but it is definitely a big attraction at the park, but it very well fits into the sky with the colors, and it just makes it feel very, like, themed very well at the park. And the other one on the thumbnail is the Loch Ness Monster, which is the oldest coaster at the park, and one of the only few coasters to have an interlocking loop. This coaster was open, and I did get to ride it, and I really did enjoy this coaster. It was a lot smoother than I anticipated. It is a nice aero looper, has a nice lengthy layout, because you do that first turn after the lift hill and go to the inversion, but then you have a nice long layout in the back where you go into a tunnel part. You do a ton of other stuff like in and out of trees until you head into that second inversion after going up a second lift hill, and then you head back in the station. That was also a really good coaster I found at the park. Two other coasters that were closed were both Tempesto, which is a Skyrocket 2, a clone of Tigris at Busch Gardens Tampa, which I have ridden, as well as Apollo's Chariot, which I have ridden in the past. So nothing really insane over there. Apollo's Chariot is a massive B&M Giga in the Festa Italia part of the park, which is really neat. And kind of moving around the park, you then have a Sky Ride Station, which is where I actually took the photo on the left from the thumbnail. You also then come across Invader in the Viking/Canada and New France area of the park. Invader, I will hate to say this, but is probably my least favorite main coaster in the park. I was going into it thinking this is going to be a very fun wooden coaster, because I've never really done one, unless you count the two at Fun Spot and Old Gwazi. This was really like this was my first big GCI wooden coaster. And I will say it was a pretty big of a letdown. It has that GCI rattle I've been hearing of, but it was beyond that. It was more of just, its layout wasn't too crazy. It wasn't, that was probably the least well themed. It seemed kind of dead in the behind, like where the coaster was. And all the other coasters, you have trees, you're going over paths, you have great interactions with the stuff around you. In Invader, it just built in the backstage area of the park. So there really wasn't anything special about this coaster than your maybe Hurler at Carowinds. I even heard people behind me on the coaster comparing it to Hurler that used to be at Cedar Point and is currently at Carowinds. So to continue moving around the park, you then have Alpengeist. This was my personal favorite coaster at the park, and it is somewhat similar to Montu in the sense of a B&M invert, but I do prefer Montu more. But before I say anything, Montu is my second favorite roller coaster, with Velocicoaster being number 1 and Mako being number 3. So having this Alpengeist probably in my top 5 favorite coasters now is a big step, because I've now been on 68 roller coasters. And to be in my top 5 is pretty elite. And Alpengeist I just found to be very, very fun. It was very well themed, great interactions at the end, feeling like you're going over fake snow, but it has like skis to kind of pretend you're gliding over. Just really well themed coaster, and it is very tall. Just because the trees are tall and it's kind of built on the side of a hill, once you're at the top and you look down on that first drop, it is pretty big. And luckily I happened to go on a Saturday, but it was completely empty. I was able to walk on all these coasters in only about 3 hours, because that's all I had at this park. But, continuing on, Alpengeist just had great inversions. It did only have 6 inversions, while Montu has 7, which is probably the big divider. But Alpengeist just felt really drawn out than Montu. But I do love Montu more, I will say that. But Alpengeist definitely is a great, great coaster, and I feel like it fit really well with this park. So, further continuing down the line, was the final coaster that was actually open at the park, which was Verbolton. I was able to ride this coaster 3 times, both in the front row, back row, and the middle rows, to kind of get a full feel for this coaster. And I really enjoyed this coaster. I think it is very underrated in the coaster community, and I do not think it is a family coaster. People say this is a family launch coaster. Yes, it is not as intense as Alpengeist and is way more intense than Grover Coaster, which I also got that credit, but I won't be going into that as it's basically a clone of every other junior coaster. But going into Verbolton, it was very well themed. It made me feel like a Disney or a Universal park. That is the most well-themed coaster I've seen at any of the SeaWorld parks I've been to, which includes SeaWorld Orlando, Aquatica, Busch Gardens Tampa, and Adventure Island, and also, I guess, Busch Gardens Williamsburg. But, yeah, that's kind of what I really thought about it. It was very well made. The show building that you enter after that first launch, immediately after you leave the station, after taking a little dip into the forest and take a launch, really is intense. There's parts where it makes you feel like you're going to black out. I grayed out after my 3rd ride, so that's kind of when I stopped. But it was very intense in that show scene for certain parts, with flashing lights, kind of like forest elements everywhere. Very much felt like Mummy to a sense, but also felt like a Hagrid's and Mummy kind of combination. Then you have my favorite part. Spoiler alert if you don't want to know this. It's the big secret on the ride. Just skip like 5-10 seconds. There is a drop track. Way better than Hagrid's, in my opinion. Way much longer than Hagrid's drop track. But yeah, that's kind of all I'm going to say about the drop track. Really fun. Then you take a nice big launch up into this massive hill. You don't realize how high you are until you get to the very top, where it stops you for a split second. And this is the big homage to the Big Bad Wolf Arrow suspended coaster that used to be there. Then you face straight down and you plummet down into a big, turn, going straight down, probably anywhere from like 75 to 100 feet. Very big drop and very, very fun in my opinion. It looks a lot bigger when you're up there, that's why I said very, very big. But yeah, it just is a great coaster, I felt like, and Verbolton definitely is up there for one of my favorites at the park. But the big question y'all are asking, is it better than Tampa? So I have 2 answers for this. Coaster collection, I really don't know yet until Pantheon and Iron Gwazi both open at respective parks. But currently, just because some coasters were closed here, and I do feel like I prefer Montu more than Alpengeist, and just kind of, if I had to compare, I'd probably say that Busch Gardens Tampa is better coaster-wise. But I will say, as a theme park and overall with the countries, the workers, the theming, the mix of animals, they are wolves, eagles, and everything here, the mixture of scenery, nature, theming, intense roller coasters, family coasters, 2 big kids areas, both themed to Sesame, well, one themed to Sesame Street and one themed to Dragon, like a Dragon City, great entrance area. I would say Busch Gardens Williamsburg is the superior theme park, and that is why it is the most beautiful theme park on the planet. Thank you guys for watching, and if you want to have an idea for what I'm going to post next on the channel, comment down below, and maybe I'll pick your idea. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do the massive like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. I'm trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That'd be a dream come true. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, everyone. See ya. Bye.